my session today. The broad topic is something you already know, that is purpose. So there are two things that I'm going to talk about. One is a fundamental principle about why purpose is important. The second is about how do you state the purpose. You see, because all of you who have applied for courses or programs abroad know that one of the things that they ask you for is something called a statement of purpose. So this is not just a philosophy talk. This is not just about, understanding why. It is also about how you state your why. So this is the larger context in which I am going to talk today. If you look at my slide title, it says Finding X, Finding Y. I've put it that way because I wanted to start with a simple concept from algebra, which all of us understand, which all of us know. We may not love math, we may not love algebra, but I'm sure all of us have learned algebra. Okay, so here is something that I wanted you to think of. For instance, there is something called simultaneous equations, right? Everybody is familiar with simultaneous equations. I'm sure about that. What are simultaneous equations? You have equations with multiple unknowns. All right. Usually in math, we write these unknowns in terms of X and Y and things like that. And that's the reason for my title. So we all know that if you have two unknowns and two equations, I'm talking about simultaneous equations. If you have two unknowns and two equations, you can solve for those unknowns, right? If you have, let's say, 10 equations and 10 unknowns, you can solve for that unknown. You can find out what they are, and that is what is the beauty of algebra. However, if you have, let us say, 11 unknowns and 10 equations, you cannot solve for any of those. So there is something very interesting here. If you have 10 equations and 10 unknowns, you can solve it. But if you have 10 equations and 11 unknowns, you cannot solve for any of those 11. And this is something that I wanted all of us to keep in mind. The reason I am saying this is, what we already know acts as a constraint to find out what else we can know further. So the same talk that I'm going to make now, so what I'm saying, there are 50 of you or 50 of you in the audience there listening. It is possible that each of you understand this talk very differently. Some of you will understand it much better. Some will not understand it so well. But one of the factors that is going to determine whether you will understand it well or not actually depends upon what you already know. What you already know could be in terms of language. Maybe some of the words that I'm using are not familiar, in which case you will miss the point. Or maybe the very idea of simultaneous equation that I'm talking about, you have no clue about, in which case you don't get the point. Or it could be a conceptual understanding of something that I'm going to talk about that you do not understand. The point is this: how you take things forward depends on what you already know. And especially when you go for higher education, you would see that there may be two of you join the same program in the same university. Let's say you're doing an MBA from an IIM. Okay, join the same class. Yet, the takeaway from the same program, the same class could be different because what you already know acts as a constraint on what else you can know further. So this is a larger concept that I want you to remember. And the second point that I would make, and something which all of us know, is that time is the only real factor which is constant, which would mean that all 51 of us who are currently in the audience and me, all of us have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. On this, there is perfect equality. We could have different, our wealth levels could be very different, our income levels could be different, our taste could be different, our height could be different, our health conditions could be different, but when it comes to time, it is perfectly equal, which would also mean what you can do in the same time is what would indicate to someone else whether you are really good or not. Someone who is able to get much more out of the same 24 hours, the same 7 days a week, is probably someone who would be preferred by companies and others, saying that, okay, this guy or this girl is able to make use or is efficient, as we use the word efficient. So there are two things that I want to talk about today. One is the constraint, that what we already know constrains what we can know further. Two is about how we utilize time. And the larger context of these two is in terms of purpose that I'm going to talk about. So with that, I'm going to play a video for you. I hope you watch that. It's about 5 minutes. It's a TED Talk. It's actually cut from a TED Talk by Simon Sinek. I'm sure most of you have heard about Simon Sinek. We will follow the, we will continue the talk after this 5-minute video. Sit back and watch.
I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. And that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior or purchase of both, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat screen TVs. They've been making flat screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. When we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and figures and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't the other body parts controlling your behavior. That's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal?
All right. I hope you liked watching what you just now did, and I hope you got the point as well. So I would now come to the third part of what I want to talk. So I hope you understood the why. So my title of the presentation was Finding X, Finding Y. The reason is there is an unknown that always acts as a constraint. So X is important for us to solve. We have to solve the rest. But Y is the why. I mean, the reason why, like Simon said, why do you wake up in the morning? What what makes you come to work? What makes you come to college? What makes you keep going? I mean, we can always say, I want to make more money, I want to do this. Well, like Simon said, those are the result of what you do. Those are not the reason why what you do. I mean, you can become famous, you can you can make a lot of money, you can do well physically, mentally, but all of those are actually the outcome of what you do, and they are not the reason why you do. So the question is about reason, and that is why we would focus on the purpose part again. Okay, so here is something that I wanted to again talk about. One is, I'm sure people would have told things, especially to youngsters, it's a fad to say that, okay, follow your passion. It doesn't matter what it is, follow your passion. It is bad advice. If you could tell, if I could say that, it is bad advice. You might be passionate about something, but being passionate about something doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at it. And I'm saying this after having seen hundreds of youngsters follow their passion and then fail. I'm not saying passion is not important. Passion is important. But passion in isolation doesn't cover everything. And so this is something that I would want you to keep in mind. Passion is important in the sense that it keeps you going, meaning it makes it exciting. You enjoy your work, and you will do well when you're doing what you enjoy, no doubt about it. But that is just one part of it. We already saw what is purpose. And I want you to, visualize this. Imagine that someone says, let's say one of my colleagues in the college says that, okay, my purpose is to become the principal of the college. Okay. Or someone says, no, I want to be the prime minister of this country, and that is my purpose. No, that's not really what it is. Purpose is, okay, you can be ambitious about being the principal or the CEO or the prime minister or whatever positions you want to take over, but purpose is about what you do when you take over that position. I can very well want to be the CEO of a company or the prime minister of this country, but if I do not know what to do after I become that, history will cast me into its dustbins. That's the fact. We would be utter failure in those positions. So the point is, it is not about your ambition. It's not what you want to become. but the question is about why you want to become. And if you are a leader and your purpose is to grow other leaders, that is something which I would call as a strong why. But if you are a leader because you like other people to work for you, that is not really a purpose. That is probably an outcome, but again, not necessarily a desirable outcome. So I will come back to this point again. So passion is important in the sense that you're passionate about something. You're passionate about football. You're passionate about cricket. You're passionate about leading. You're passionate about debating. All of it is fine. But why do you want to do it? Just because you enjoy it doesn't necessarily mean that it serves a purpose. And that is where purpose becomes important after passion. But there is a third thing, and that is called potential. Of course, potential is not something which is a given. It is not fate. So when I say it is not fate, one of the things that I would like to say is there are more skills that we can develop over time. You're passionate about something, you're clear about the purpose, you can work on your potential in most cases, but not in all cases. And I want you to remember one more thing. You know, when you are in fifth standard or when you are in third standard, the number of things that you could have potentially become in 20 years would have been much, much more, many, many more than, let us say, when you are now in your early 20s. You know, unfortunately, with every year passing, your potential for, or the number of options that you could have become actually comes down. I mean, one example that I can think of is, let's say I'm passionate about cricket. I love playing cricket. Maybe I find my purpose in cricket as well. But at my age, if I want to say that I'm ambitious, I want to play for this country, play at the national level, well, you know that's not possible. Maybe if I had done it, consciously taken the necessary effort when I was, let's say, 8 years old, maybe that would have been possible. Today, you can be fairly sure it is not possible. What happened? Time passed by and opportunities came down. So this is something I want you to recognize. There are some things which would have been possible if you had put your mind and soul into it in your first year. There are some things which are no more possible for you, at least in college. What happened? Time passed by. It is not about passion. It is not about just purpose. It is also about potential. And potential, unfortunately, is also about what you did earlier. Again, as I said in the first slide, what you know acts as a constraint in what you can further know. What you did act as a constraint in what you can further do. So finding X, the unknown, is important for finding Y. But when it comes to potential, there are certain things, unfortunately, you cannot do now. And in another 5 years, there'll be far more things you will not be able to do further because what you did in the past acts as a constraint. So potential is a very critical thing. Passion, purpose, potential. There are certain things I'm sure you would find where you are passionate about, where you find your purpose in, and where you have the potential. When all three of them come together, that is when we say you are in your element. So I use the word the element. You know, when someone is in his element or in her element, work is no more a task. Work is not something that you stop enjoying. Work is something that you thrive upon. Work is something that drives you. Monday mornings are no more scarier than any other day. Monday mornings are look forward. A weekend break later, you're raring to come to work. You're raring. That is when you say you are in your element. But what are the three things for being in the element? You need to be passionate about it. You need to have your purpose aligned with your passion, and you also need to have your potential. The bad news, as I said, some things you will find it too late for you to develop your potential in right now. But the good thing, there are many, 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 many things for which it is not yet late for you to build your potential in. And that simply depends on your hard work and your effort. So this is something. You want to become a basketball player at this level, maybe your height acts as a constraint. But you want to become an outstanding marketing person? Not really. What probably matters is the next 2 years, how much you add in terms of skills and reading and experience and exposure. So there are several things. Business, you want to learn business? Practice it, read as much, develop your skills. So there are several things on which if you already have the passion for it, and if you're sure about your purpose, you can still develop your potential. And then when you get to a stage where it is you are in your element, you will start doing well, and work will no more be a task to complete. Work will no more be a burden. You will enjoy, not just that you will enjoy doing what you're doing, you will make more money, you will be successful. Not just that, people would love to be around you after that. It is very interesting that people would like to be associated with somebody who is passionate about what they're doing. You don't want to be around people who are bored of what they're doing, because boredom is contagious. But just like boredom is contagious, passion is contagious too, excitement is contagious too. You know for a fact that you wouldn't want to be in the class of a teacher who is bored of teaching what she's or he is doing. You would like to be in the class of a teacher who is excited about what they are doing. And this is the fundamental principle. So keep this in mind. If you are already passionate about something and you know that is also part of your purpose, then develop potential so that you can be in your element, and then you will do well. You will not only be successful materially, you will also be successful socially. So this is something that I would want you to keep in mind before we move to the next part. As I said, follow your passion is a terrible advice which many youngsters are given. And I'm sure, you're all now in your adulthood, and that's why I said adulthood demands that you seek reality check and course correction and not mere feel good. Honestly, one test that I have, whether you have a really good friend or not, is this. If you're bad at singing and you're still singing, your friend by now should be able to say that you are bad at singing. That holding a mirror, to your friends is what makes you a friend at this stage, a real friend. You can just be an acquaintance and keep everybody feel good and happy and things like that. But if you don't hold a mirror for your friend, you're not really a friend. And honestly, you would want to be surrounded with real friends at this stage. In your teens, it was very different. You want validation for everything. Oh, I look good. I'm good at this. And you want your friends to keep echoing it back. You want to be in an echo chamber. But you are in adulthood. What you want is you want your colleagues, you want your friends to give you feedback. When I say feedback, real feedback, which tells you, look, this is where you stand. If you want to go further, you need to improve. Anybody who keeps praising you at this stage without reason is not really a friend. And I want you to keep that in mind. You can do anything is wrong advice. You cannot do everything. There are several things by now which you cannot do. Let's be realistic about it. As I said, if I want today, saying that I want to play cricket for the Indian team in 5 years' time, sorry, that bus is left the bus station long ago. I've missed that bus. There is nothing I can do at this stage to get to that stage. Okay, just believe in yourself. Well, good advice again. Please keep believing. But if you do not do what you're supposed to do, you have not done it yet, certain things are not possible. Good news, there are many more things which are still possible. For that, you can continue to believe, but work hard. Practice anything for 10,000 hours and you are an expert. Well, you may not be an expert, but you might become reasonably good at it in 10,000 hours of practice. Some of us might become good at it in 2,000 hours of practice. Some might be 50.
Hello, sir. Hello. Sir, your voice is not audible.
Yes,
The
my-
video is also struck.
Struck.
Yeah,
Yes, the video is
yeah.
also.
I think there is a problem, but let us wait. Let us wait.
Bobby, can I start again?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can start.
Yes,
What happened? The call got cut or?
You were not audible, sir.
audibles.
All right, all right. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Again, not audible, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so I think all right. So this is the next point that I want to talk about.
Sir, please share your screen.
It went off again, is it?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, it's visible.
All right. So the next part that I wanted to talk about is this: matter, mastery, and meaning. What matters to you and what are you driven by? What is the legacy you want to live? You see, I'm talking about we talked about passion, purpose, and potential. We talked about all three being required for finding yourself in your element to do well. But I'm now going to focus specifically on the purpose part, and that's the reason I have this slide. You know, what is your purpose? The three questions that you can talk about in this context is what I have put on the screen. One is, what matters to you and what are you driven by? What is the legacy you want to live? I know you are too young to think of even legacy, but the truth is you're in your final year, right? And although you're young, your stay in college is actually done. I mean, will now get into the next institution, probably for your MBA. This is a question I would want you to ask on day one. What is the legacy that you would want to leave when you complete your course in that institution? Let us say you're planning to join IIM Ahmedabad and you are there. Day one, you know that in 2 years' time you will finish your MBA. What is the legacy that you would want to leave at that place? Would you just stay as a consumer, meaning whatever the institution and teachers offer, you will keep consuming without having given out anything? Or will you also be a producer who have made a difference, who made a difference to somebody else? That's the point. What matters to you and what are you driven by? If you are driven by only consumption, if you are driven by only consuming inputs, you would see that after a while you're going to become very, very disappointed. You cannot be passionate about consumption. You can be passionate only about production. That's the way of life. That's the reality. So in that context, if you want what matters to you and what are you driven by, what is the legacy you want to leave, once you answer that part, the next part is about potential. What skills do you want to master? What skills can you master? What skills matter in the marketplace? What skills do you want to master? I mean, that's an open-ended question. You could say, I want to play the keyboard. I want to learn how to play the keyboard, or I want to learn public speaking. I want to, mentor people. It can be endless. The list can be endless. What skills can you master? That's a different story. That is where potential comes. But as I said, it is also where what you already learned matters. You have not learned the basics of maths till now. It becomes very difficult for you to learn applied financial econometrics, for instance. I mean, you can say that, okay, that is where the market is, but it becomes difficult at this stage. Now, what skills do you want to master? What skills can you master? What skills matter in the marketplace? You see, if the skill that you want to master has no takers elsewhere, you can still be passionate about it, but you may not be able to make a difference to anybody by mastering it. The market may not appreciate that skill. So this is something that you need to think about. How can you cultivate and exchange the value of your mastery to gain the ability to do work that is in alignment with the legacy you desire on your own terms? I know it's a little bit too long, but the basic question is this. Once you've answered what skills you want to master, what skills can you master, and what skills matter in the marketplace, and once you've mastered those skills, the question is, are they in line with what you wanted to do in the first place? And if so, how do you make use of your skills to make a difference and enjoy what you're doing? How can you make use of your skills to be in your element and do well? So that is the question. Basically, it is about what matters to you, what can you master, and what do you find meaning in your life. This is an exercise that I'm giving for yourself. I hope you have something to take note, something to scribble. This is an exercise that I'm giving. I want you to write down for yourself. And this is not to show me, this is not to show Bobby sir or Anurita ma'am or anybody, any other faculty members who is there in the audience. This is very simple. This is a statement for yourself to think. What is your purpose? Now, for me, I would write it this way: to be a thought leader so that I can make a difference to people who do business with me. Okay, I repeat, this is my statement: to be a thought leader so that I can make a positive difference to those who do business with me or to those who work with me. I mean, this is my, personal why statement. This is my purpose statement. I don't know about yours. I don't know Bobby says. I don't know Anurita ma'am. I don't know Palvi ma'am. I don't know Jayashree ma'am. Whoever, I don't know Rajni ma'am. I don't know any of your purpose statement in that sense. Only it is personal for you. But I would want you to write it down in some draft form right now. You could keep revising as you go by, to be something so that you can do this. Take your time. And this has to be given what you know about yourself, what is your why, and what is your reason for waking up every morning. You know your potential already to a great extent. You know what matters to you. You know what mastery you can still develop. You know what matters in the marketplace. You're not kids anymore, you're adults. And given what you know about, what you're passionate about, what your purpose is, what is your potential, given what you know about yourself, what is your why? What is your reason for waking up every morning? What do you want to become? Again, I'm saying, don't tell me that you want to make money. You will make money when you're successful at doing what you wanted to do. So that is an outcome. That is not your reason. You want to be successful? Of course. You can be successful as a golf player, as a politician, as a bureaucrat, as an entrepreneur. All of that is fine. But again, that's an outcome. That is not your reason. The reason is what I'm talking about as why. What you want to be so that you can do this. Take this time to write something. Keep reworking on it. You don't have to show me. You don't have to show anybody there, any of your colleagues, any of your peer group. But have this why statement. This is important as we go forward. I want to talk about not only purpose, I want to also talk about shared purpose, because all of you are students of business administration, and it's very unlikely that your business is going to be a one-man business. We are all likely to work in teams. So here is one reason that shared purpose becomes very important. It is one thing for me to have a purpose. It is totally different when my colleagues and I share a purpose. Human beings are incredibly capable of doing things when they work in teams. one of the popular expansions for acronym team is together everyone achieves more. Together everyone achieves more. It is not that together collectively they achieve more. Together everyone achieves more. Why would that happen? Because there is a shared purpose. I mean, those of you who worked in teams for your assignments know what I'm saying. In those teams where one person did all the work and others just put their names across, you would have done still something, but I'm sure about the fact that you wouldn't have achieved more. Together, everyone wouldn't have achieved more. Okay, that is something that I am very clear about. Whereas in groups where everybody worked together for that project, everybody did their part to the best of their ability, I'm sure everybody would have achieved more. And this is true about our college clubs. This is true about student council. This is true about everything which involves a team. This is true about your own department. When they work as a team, they achieve much, much more. So this is something that results. This is why I use the subtitle called What Results in a Movement. You know, when I say movement, whether it is our independence movement, whether it is religious movements, whether it is political movement, I call Apple as a movement in a sense, because that it is not just one person who made everything, but one person believed in something and others bought into that shared purpose and it became a shared purpose. You see, purpose being shared is different from a shared purpose. So I hire a team of staff for the organization and I tell them from today onward, this is your purpose. I am sharing my purpose with them. I'm sharing the organization purpose with them. That doesn't necessarily make it shared purpose. Purpose sharing is different from sharing a purpose. But it is sharing a purpose that makes a team. Together, everyone achieves more. And this is something that I want you to remember as you climb your career ladders as well. One thing that you can be sure of, if my team thinks that I am working for myself, that whatever I am doing is so that I could get benefits, then my team wouldn't really work for me. Whereas if my team thinks that I and them are working for a larger purpose, then my team would give their everything for me. Not because I am working for myself, but because we are in it together. And this is an important thing. Every CEO who is successful is a CEO who was able to create a movement towards a larger purpose. Every businessman who fails, every employee, every manager especially, and this is very important in the organization at the second and third rank, every manager who failed is a manager who worked for his credit, who took the credit for the work that his team members did and denied credit and shared only blame to his team. This is very important for us to remember. You want to do the impossible, you want to achieve anything beyond ordinary, you have to create a team where everyone together, everyone achieves more. And that is possible only when there is a shared purpose, not because you share your purpose with them. So this is something that I would want. Now, I will quickly move on to a few things that are important from a team leadership perspective, because I believe all of you are going to go on to become leaders. You're already leaders, but you're going to take up roles and positions which involve leadership. And so this is something that I wanted to look at. Okay, there are broadly two ways to influence behavior. Okay, you can see one set. I mean, as marketing students, as students of business administration, you have already dealt with those things. One is price. You can price something very cheap so that people will buy it. Or you can do promotion, right? You can advertise, you can campaign for something, and you can say, I'm great, I'm doing this, please buy in to what I am trying to say. All of that is possible. That is promotion. 3, you can create fear. Okay, I mean, especially with governments that happen, right? I mean, you don't want to criticize a government because there is fear out there. Okay, so, or the other is you create aspirations. I mean, as teachers, we almost always do this. We want to create aspirations so that you start working towards your aspirations. So this is something that we try. Then there is peer pressure. You're doing something because everybody else in your group is doing. There are things that you do for your novelty, and then there is inspiration. When I say inspire, you are inspired to make a difference. You are inspired. You see something somebody is doing, and then you want to do it because you have been inspired. You know, inspiration is what gets loyalty. Inspiration is what gets you cult following. Okay. See, I reduce price so that you can buy more. That's a transactional thing. I give you something, you give me something. Transactions are nice. As leaders, you can practice transactional values because sometimes that's what works. Okay, you do something well, I will give you an incentive. Or you do something well, I give you a hike. Those are transactional things. Transactions work as long as I can keep giving you something, you will do it. But the day you get something better somewhere, you will move on there. Inspiration doesn't work like that. In fact, inspiration works even when there is no transaction value, you might still be doing something. Our entire independence movement was built by Gandhi on an inspirational model. You know, it was not on the base of transaction. Gandhi never said that you join the independence movement, you will get this. But there was a shared purpose. If you look at the biggest brands in this world, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Google, whether it is Apple, all of them have cult following. All of them have loyalty. And that is not because it's transactional. In fact, anybody who owns an Apple phone, and I suspect there are many of you who have Apple phones in your hand, will know this. You will always have your friends making fun of you saying that for the same price, my phone has more features. You will always have some friend telling you that your product is overpriced. That, you know, whatever you are getting for this price, much more is there in my phone. Yet, why do people buy Apple? Features to price is a transactional thing. You buy Apple not for the product, but you're buying into that brand. You are inspired by that brand. There is a loyalty to the brand. So one feature less is not what is going to change you from, you know, shift. I mean, you're hardly going to see people who move away from Apple to some other brand because the price went up by 2,000 rupees. And that's the point that you want to keep in mind, even as a leader. If your leadership practice is transactional, you join me, I will give you this. You can be sure the next day somebody else gives something better to that person, they will move on. But an inspirational leadership will still keep you having a fan following, cult following. And that is what, as leaders, we all need to be working towards. And that will happen only when we share a purpose, and the purpose is shared. Okay. I just put this for reference. You know, inspirational, you know, leadership inspires for action, because we talked about why, how, and what, and we said, or like Simon said, you need to move from why to how to what, whereas ordinary companies and people move from what to how and why. The why for Bill Gates was a PC on every desk. That is Microsoft. A PC on every desk was his motive. How did he do it? He built a company. And by doing what? He made great PCs. Okay. And we know that it was successful. And I'm saying this because I use two different companies. One is Microsoft, one is Apple, because I think these are two companies all of us can relate to. A PC on every desk is the why. Build a company and great PCs. Now, Bill Gates, what did he do? He created that vision. He created that purpose and created a company with a shared purpose. But who built that company? It is not Bill Gates. It is, in fact, Bill Gates was not the one who did the hard work in terms of setting up things. The how was mainly done by Paul Allen. And who did the actual task? The employees, the people out there. Together, you have the entire Windows network, right? You have the entire Microsoft company, as you call it, the office setup and all of that. So yet, if there's one name that you would associate with Microsoft, it is still the name of that person who created that why, Bill Gates. It is not that Paul Allen is not rich. Paul Allen was rich, very rich, or because he's a co-founder, right? Yet you don't associate Paul Allen with Microsoft. You still associate Bill Gates. Can a Bill Gates work without a Paul Allen? No. And that's a point that I would want to make. The same thing with Apple. I hope you know the story of Apple, because Steve Jobs founded the company, but he got thrown out of the company. He had to be taken back later, and he came back. Now, the reason I'm talking about all of that is what made Apple different is Steve Jobs' vision, the why. What was his why? Steve Jobs wanted to create an entire environment in which individuals are central. He did not produce for the mass market. He said every Apple customer is unique, and my products should take care of every individual's aspirations. Make individuals central. What did he do? Created a company, and he had Steve Wozniak who took care of the how part. He designed user-centric computers. Please remember that. Without Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs wouldn't have made it. But you would still associate Apple with Steve Jobs and not with Wozniak. Unfair? Perhaps yes, but that's the reality. But who made these computers and iPhones and tabs and whatever else? The team. Again, the why was created by someone, but the how was always by a partner, and it was done, the what was done by a large number of people who bought into that why. Again, I want to focus a second on both Paul Allen and Steve Wozniak for a simple reason. Smart people, the really good ones who are in their element, who are passionate about things, who are clear about their purpose, will always hire people who are smarter than them. You know why? Because they are not threatened by smarter people. Because for them, the purpose is far important than their own position. If you see leaders who hire people who are worse than them because they can protect their position, you can be very sure that they are not leaders who have a purpose. They know that they want to be the CEO. They know that they want to be the prime minister. They know they want to be the president. But they wouldn't have people smarter than them around them because they are scared, because they are worried that their position could be at stake later on. What is happening? The position is more important than the purpose. And if the position is more important than the purpose, the country, the organization, the team will eventually fail. Bill Gates hired or partnered with the Paul Allen, Steve Jobs partnered with the Steve Wozniak. Also because for them, the purpose was more important than their position. And of course, Bill is no more even in a leadership position with Microsoft. How does it matter? The movement Bill Gates created succeeded. And that's what happened. And this is the legacy that I'm sure you and me would also want to leave. Positions will come and go, but the legacy should stay. If you're really clear about a why, you will always surround yourself with smarter people, and you will always take feedback. The feedback may not be always pleasant. As I said, if you look bad, your friend will say you look bad. If you sing badly, a real friend is going to say that you're pathetic at singing. A good friend will call a spade and will not sugarcoat it, because purpose is more important than feelings. Purpose is to improve. Purpose is to grow. And this is something that I would want you to keep in mind. I will quickly run through the remaining slides because we are running out of time, but I just want you to keep this in mind. I'm just listing them out. An organization which has a shared purpose will be a trusted organization. A manager who is about a larger purpose than his position will be a trusted manager. A leader who creates a vision which is much larger than him would be a trusted leader. It is trust that helps people and organization take risk. Without risk, there is no growth. If my boss is working for himself and I think he's a selfish person, he will not look after my interest. Do not expect me to take risk on his behalf. I will not do that. Whereas if I know that we share a purpose and that my interest will be protected by my boss, I will take calculated risk because it is good for the organization. Every new product that you see in the market, every innovation that is out there, every new movement is because somebody took the risk. Some risks are costlier, some risks are less costlier. People like Aung San Suu Kyi and Nelson Mandela paid a huge price. 2 decades plus in jail because they shared a purpose. They had a why. So purpose is almost always costly, but people still paid that price because there was a trust in the larger movement. The feeling of trust, your why and gut feeling are all located in the same part of your brain, which is why once you get there, facts don't matter, features don't matter. Again, as I said, the reason why most of you who buy Apple is because you trust Apple. It is not because it has one feature more than some other phone or one feature less. It is not because there are megapixels in the camera. You just trust Apple. The question now I would want to ask you is this: who do you trust and why would anyone trust you? The power of CC, if you have a Apple, iPhone or any, you would see that right behind here, there will be an Apple logo, right? Similarly for the iPad and whatever, Apple products. You see that it will not be written. The word Apple will not be written anywhere, right? That half-eaten apple is all that you will get, but you see that you know what it is. Whereas when it comes to an Asus or Dell, they still have to write it. And this is why I said the power of symbols. You see, whether it is a national flag or any of these are all symbols, but they matter only when we have a shared purpose. The why matters. A team is not a group of people who work together. It is a group of people who trust each other. The ability of a team to do remarkable things hinges on shared purpose and trust. A team that doesn't grow together grows apart. And this is my most important point. You cannot be a leader without a following. Most people think leadership comes because of positions. No, that's not true. Leadership comes because you have followers. Your positions could mean that you have, subordinate employees. That doesn't make you a leader. Leadership arises when you have following. And a following arises when you have a purpose. And others believe that they can trust you and you have their best interests in mind. So this is something that I want to leave as a thought for you. What you want to be. You want to be a leader? Are you aspiring for a position or are you aspiring to fulfill a purpose? If you want to be successful in every sense of the word and leave a positive legacy, the only way you can do is by being significant, by having a purpose, by being clear about what matters to you, what you can master, and how you would make or find meaning with what you already have. I will end this session right here and then maybe open for a few questions after this. Bobby, is that all right?
Yes, sir. Carry on, sir. Yes.
No, so my question is, shall I end here and then leave it open for a few questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How?
Or you can finish it in another 3 minutes, sir.
No, I mean, there is nothing much to, One is, I just leave this quote for all of them to read. That is, leadership is not about positions. Leadership is about stature. Leadership is not about achievements. Leadership is about success. The greatest success of a leader is in making other leaders. And I think that should be self-evident. I have only one slide. Otherwise, this is about writing statements of purpose for, where there is, if you're writing SOPs, but I think most people would have finished writing SOPs by now, because that vision part is already over in most places, or at least I'm just reading out what you do. Write stories, not statements. When I say stories, see, whenever you write a SOP, if you keep only put bullet points, nobody's going to buy it. People are passionate about finding your story, where you come from, why you did what you did. And that's what I meant by write stories. Stories connect, statements don't. Write your story and not someone else's. The reason I said is, every time I get an SOP, there are several times I've seen plagiarized SOPs. Admission committees world over have seen thousands and thousands and thousands of SOPs by now, that when you get the plagiarized SOP, one look, I know it is not yours. Because you see, the why should be clear. Why this field, why this course, why this position, why this university, why this company. And if all of that is clear, you need to still communicate why you should be considered for that. So it's all about why. Again, if you're applying in 4 different universities, do not send the same essay for everyone. Because you will never know if there is the same panelist in multiple universities. You might have, because I myself, I'm on the panel for more than 2 different places. So I know this part. We always get for third-party review or for inputs. So this is a problem. Use formal but conversational tone. And I say formal, do not use WhatsApp lingo or millennial lingo for writing statement of purpose. At the same time, do not make it read like a Shakespearean essay. That's not what it should be. It should be conversational. There should be, because it should come from your heart, and that's the point. If the why is clear, then the rest is about portraying your attitude, your personality, your character, and your competence. Your competence is nothing but your potential. If you have, and not if you have, all of us have problems. All of us have challenges. So address your problems and what you expect as challenges. And that makes it genuine. That makes it easy for somebody to connect and say, okay, this looks real. So that is important. Please do your research before writing an SOP. Okay. Please do research. If you do not know what that university that you applied for, what is it famous for? What is it known for? What is the kind of research work that is going on there? What is the kind of application that is going on there? And if a university's business school is famous for its data sciences or data analytics, and then your SOP is mostly about, let us say, positioning and segmentation and targeting and things like that, perhaps, one paragraph later, I give up and say, okay, I don't even know why she is applying here or why he is applying here. So do your research, do your homework, edit, re-edit. Again, I suggest one thing: get honest feedback from people who know you, close friends and family. You write an SOP, show it to them, and ask them, does it read like it is about me? Okay. Or does it look like it is from someone else? This is very important, because if the person who knows you cannot connect with it, trust me, the person who is somewhere else will not connect with it at all. And it's very, very difficult. So please get honest feedback from people who know you, close friends and family, and people who know about the processes involved, your teachers. So one is about people who know you. The other is about people who know how the academic admission process happens elsewhere. So generally, your teachers who know you really well can give you reasonably constructive feedback about how to write a statement of purpose for admission. And this is very important. And the last thing, proofread. And I'm saying this because I keep getting SOPs which have grammatical and spelling errors. If after all this, you're taking effort to spend dollars and send an application by, Blue Dart and DHL to, let us say, a university in US, and I find after all that you've not even taken care to do a spell check or grammar check, spell check or grammar check, what do I think? I think you don't really care. In other words, although you say you want admission, you don't really believe in it. Your why is not clear. So proofreading is very, very important. Remember, the only thing that they see of your application about you in that application is actually your statement of purpose. Rest of the application is very structured. They have a question, you have an answer. Whereas statement of purpose is something that you write. So it's supposed to reveal your purpose, your potential, your passion. If your passion is not clear from it, your potential is not clear from it, if they think you do not even know what you do not know, then there's a problem. So this is something that I would want you to keep in mind while you write a statement of purpose. But I hope you understand why a statement of purpose. Why do universities, why do companies ask you to write a statement of purpose? Because it is about why. Because it is about purpose. Why is purpose important? You can have passion, you can have potential, but without purpose, you will not be in your element. Without all these three, you are not going to be successful. You might get to a position, but you will not do well in that position without being clear about your purpose. And that is the reason why you need to be clear about your why. So I will take questions if any of you have, and then
Sir, one question. When you told in the SOP address your problems, will that not showcase our weakness?
just a second. Just a second. Can you? I can't see the full screen. That's why I'm. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Gayatri, was that you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you say your problems, there are two ways of looking at a problem, right? One is to demonstrate your problem. The other is to demonstrate your problem along with what you think is your solution for that problem. You may not have the perfect solution. And if you had the perfect solution, probably you don't need to be in that, you don't need to be applying for or mentioning that problem. But what, as from an admission committee perspective, what I would be interested in knowing is this, that, okay, I'm glad you're aware of what you lack or what your problem is, but I'm also glad that you have a problem solving approach, that you have a mindset which addresses problems. There is no one who doesn't have problems with Gayatri, so you don't have to worry about that. There is not one person who's perfect. There's not one person. And anybody who claims to be perfect, you know what the problem with that person is. Okay, so that's a more fundamental issue. So it is perfectly all right to.
Sir?
Hello.